Welcome to The Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a show that is a central hub and safe space for authors to share their stories. The Bold Book with Dr. Denise begins now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Denise Nicholson, and this podcast is for anyone looking for inspiration. Today, I have the wonderful author, Mr. Cyrus Jones, in the house. Welcome, Mr. Jones.
Hey, Dr. Denise, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I certainly appreciate it and look forward to talking with everyone today.
Of course, I've been looking forward to having you on this podcast because you're such an inspiration. Before we even go any further, can you just share a little bit about who you are and why did you write this book?
So my name is I'm Cyrus Jones. I'm an author, motivational speaker, and a business consultant. I'm originally from a small town in Prentiss, Mississippi. I am the ninth of 11 children. My parents had the honor of being married for 67 years, and I have the honor of being married for 26 years. I'm a father of two, Tori and Christian. They both are, one's attending Mississippi State University, one's attending Ole Miss University. My mom got a little sick in 2023, and I wanted to make sure that I could help her to take care of her health situation. So I was praying to make sure I make the right decision as far as her health situation, and I was just basically led to take some time and really take an early retirement to help with my mom, and that's just the way that God was teaching me and coaching me and directing my path. Little did I know that God had other plans for me. When I was on a call in late September of 2023, and just had an inclination about writing a book, and I was on a call with one of my ex-coworkers. Make a long story short, I decided to move forward with writing a book. I thought I would write a book about management principles because I'd been in management for over 30 years between UPS and Nissan. So that was the direction that God had for me. So I started out on this journey. I partnered with Dr. Denise Nicholson and started writing the book. And again, nothing would flow. And as I'm talking to Dr. Denise, I'm like, Dr. Denise, nothing is flowing. And so I started, as we communicated, it was just became more apparent to me. Started asking God for advice. My God, please help me to understand what should I write this book about? And I could really hear the Holy Spirit just tell me, hey, are you ready to write the book that I want you to write? And from there on, I was able to write 3 chapters. I was able to come up with the title of the book, do my entire outline, and write 4 chapters in less than 3 weeks. So I went on to complete the book in a little bit over 4 months. And we spent the next 3 or 4 months actually doing editing and those type things, and we were able to launch the book. I was just inspired to write a book to help people with their faith, whether you're starting out in your faith journey, or your walk with life and faith, or whether you've been on your faith journey for an extended period of time. This book is going to resonate with you. It resonates with so many different people, various walks of life and various destinations in their faith journey. But it's going to uplift you. It's going to, when you read it, you may cry, you may laugh, you can do all the emotions that are out there overall. It's an excellent book. It's going to strengthen your faith overall.
Absolutely. And the book is Thank God for What You Have, Trust God for What You Need. Can you share how your upbringing in Prentiss, Mississippi influenced you and the theme around your book?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. I grew up, my parents, like I mentioned earlier, there are 11 of us total. I'm the ninth of 11 children. And we were taught at a very early age. Obviously, going to church was important, but I also had a personal experience with God in my life as well. I was baptized at a very early age, maybe 5 or 6 years old, but it really resonated with me when I was working in my parents' field, and just all of a sudden I was like 8 years old, and just the Holy Spirit came over me, and I started crying and really understanding that God was real. He was really on my heart that specific day, and from there on I could really hear from God. I knew that God had a purpose and a plan for my life, and things became more apparent to me every single day of my life. So the upbringing with my parents, they actually helped to establish a foundation in my life and establish an anchor. And that was very important because that foundation and that anchor being established early. So whenever you have a foundation that's established, and I considered an anchor moment, because establishing that, if I'm, like I mentioned in a couple of my chapters, that I started to get into college and those type things, I started drifting away, stopped going to church and those type things. But my upbringing from my parents and my relationship with God actually brought me back. So I didn't drift too far away. I was able to come back based off the anchor and get myself back together, start back focusing, leaving the partying alone and all the other things that I was getting away to starting to do. And God has really strengthened me overall. The chapters are very powerful.
I've heard that when you train up a child in the way, he will never depart. Train up a child in the Lord, and when he gets older, he will never depart. So are you saying that, your parents, the values that they instilled in you came back to you when you were in your, young after college years or during college?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, absolutely. So whenever may drift off a little bit, but just that foundation allowed me to know and understand what was important. My dad's example of a godly man actually helped me. Obviously, he wasn't perfect, those type things, but just that parental guidance from my parents, my mom, my dad, both, they're very inspirational, helping me to make sure that we had things aligned in our lives and prioritize things in our lives. Just their example of how they raised their family, how they raised us. They were pillars in the community. Multiple people would, Sunday afternoons is just basically a sports zone for us. We'd have probably 20, 25 people in our yard actually playing various types of sports and having fun and communicating in a positive way and those type of things. So my parents were very instrumental in that. It resonated with me and it actually stuck with me during the course of that time and actually throughout the course of my life.
I've read your book, Cyrus, and it emphasizes unconditional love through sacrifice, compassion, and most of all, there was an overall theme of kindness. How do you suggest that readers apply these principles in their daily lives?
So to me, it's very important. And I wanted to start with unconditional love. To give you an example, my parents, there were 11 of us total, and my brother was born with special needs. And my parents sacrificed some things in their career. My mom stopped teaching and became a brother's primary care provider. My dad actually stopped some things that he was doing as well and actually started focusing a lot more on being the primary breadwinner of the family and those type things. Unconditional love is very important from the biblical standpoint. In my book, I try to reference not just biblical things, biblical stories, biblical scriptures, but also personal type anecdotes, real life situations. And in the unconditional love portion, when it came to a biblical standpoint, you don't have a better sacrifice than what God gave his only begotten son to the world. And vice versa, Jesus came down, was in a lot of pain for us and suffered and died on the cross for us. So that's unconditional love. It doesn't get any bigger than that, because God could have easily taken his son away and took him back to heaven with him. But he loved us so much that he sacrificed and made that unconditional love for us.
The best example.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Now, aligning with God's will, that's a central theme for your book also. What practical steps can people that come to your book signing or hear about your book or get a read, what can they discern from the book to help them follow God?
So one of the major things for me, a lot of times it's about, well, all the time, it's about listening, being attentive, and understanding. What I found was that it was so important to get in alignment with God. A lot of times people don't necessarily want to hear the plan that God has for their lives. A lot of times they may want to do certain things a certain way, but that may not, you have to make sure it's in alignment with what God wants to happen in your life. And obviously it's important to make sure you have a personal relationship with God, that you're communicating with him, that you're praying to him, and that you're taking that time to have quality time, not just when you're in trouble, but quality time on a daily
regular relationship.
Regular relationship. He needs to know who you are. He knows who you are by talking to him and taking the time. And that was very, very important to me and should be important to everyone. Take the time, have a daily devotion, That way you can be able to hear the Holy Spirit as he's whispering and talking to you. A lot of times God is whispering and telling you what to do. He's a perfect gentleman. He's not going to yell and scream and say and stop you. He's going to usher in what he wants you to do. But the question is, are you listening? So that's very important.
What was one time that you remember letting go and trusting God's timing when you were anxious about something, but you just have to let go and let God?
So in chapter 4, that is the title of chapter 4. Let go and chapter 4 is let go and let God. This was really a different type scenario. My dad was sick and had been sick for an extended period of time, and he was diagnosed with, well, he'd gone through a bout with sickness previously, and he was able to, through prayer and everything, he was able to make it through that critical situation. He had complications from a bowel obstruction, and make a long story short, it was setting up sepsis, and my dad was really on the brink of dying, to be honest with you. And we prayed about things. My mom, she's just we all are strong Christians, but my mom, she's a super strong Christian. And she really was devoted to her husband. And the doctors literally told us, hey, it's not looking good. Call the family in because we don't expect for him to make it through the night. So we're all praying. And it was ironic because when the doctor explained this to us, my mother looked at me as soon as the doctor walked away and said, your dad may have to go on kidney dialysis. I'm like, Mom, did you not hear what he just said? That he may not make it through the night. And she literally said, he's going to be okay. He's going to make it through it. And I'm like, okay, well, she must have heard something I didn't hear. But her faith was just that strong. And when she was strengthening her faith, it started to strengthen my faith. And we began to pray. And true reality, my dad started turning around within 3 days. So he was a remarkable turnaround. And within about 9 months, it took him at least 9 months to recover from that. He was in the hospital and extended care units for all that period of time, but he was able to survive that bout with sickness. He passed later on from complications from lung cancer, but we kind of knew a little bit more that was kind of more so of his time, just based off the things that he'd gone through. But the initial situation, we had to trust God. God had a plan for my dad at that point, and we all believed in it.
Your book offers some biblical principles for building strong marriage. What advice do you have for couples that are striving to strengthen their bond and have that balance of a great relationship together and a great relationship with God?
So as I began to do the research, this one was very powerful for me, chapter 7, trusting God's timing in your marriage. When we look at the studies, it indicates that roughly 40% of all marriages end in divorce. And as I started to look at the research, it shows that a lot of times females are the ones that actually initiate the divorce. And one of the key factors to marriages failing comes through communication or lack thereof of communication. And one of the examples that I talked about from a personal standpoint was, for instance, for my marriage. My wife and I, we've been happily married for 26 years, but as you know, marriage can be difficult as you go through, but it's all about staying connected. The biggest thing is communication. So any advice that I would give is, one thing that my dad told me, again, they were married for 67 years, so I would think he's probably kind of like an expert. So one of the things he said was never go to bed upset at each other, and always make sure that you're communicating. Communication is the key. I obviously talk about finances, talk about kids and those type of things, but having a personal relationship with God is most important, because anything that you do, you have to do in connection with what God wants you to do. Pray together with your spouse. Talk about things that's going on in the marriage. Talk about things from a children's standpoint, and always be on one accord. You're going to have some disagreements, but that's okay. Understand the big picture of what's needed and continue to stay focused on the overall goal. And that's having a powerful family, God-fearing family, and wonderful children, and those type of things.
So when you say we're going to have differences, but we need to be on one accord, can you give us an example?
So it's okay, for instance, if from a financial standpoint, your primary goal may be one thing and your spouse may have a different type goal that they want to work on. Understand both sides of the equation. Make sure that he or she understands your perspective. Make sure the other spouse understands that make sure each one understands each perspective. Come to a consensus, build a strong consensus of what's most important in the marriage. That's very important, whether it's establishing your savings, whether you're saving for a home, whatever those type priorities are, make sure you're all on one accord.
Oh, okay. I'm getting it. And I wanted to be clear because there are a lot of young people that listens, and I want for them to have practical ideas of what your message is about. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Now,
Thank you.
balancing work priorities while maintaining the integrity is also a topic you explore. How did you manage this? How did you manage to balance your priorities while maintaining, integrity and during your hectic life?
So I would often reflect back on my dad. My dad worked at a small manufacturing firm in McGee, Mississippi for over 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he was recognized on multiple occasions. He didn't make a lot of money, a ton of money, but he made enough money to support the entire family. And he was well known just for his integrity and his discipline and his attendance and those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I kept that to heart as core values for me. And working, whether it's working as an hourly employee, but the vast majority of my career was spent in management. So I began to focus and understand the things that my dad did from a professional standpoint, and how he would often sometimes explain to us about certain members of management that may not have treated him with respect and dignity. So when I established my management style, I made sure that was important to me, to make sure I'm treating people with respect and dignity. I was able to fuse treating people with respect and dignity and getting results. So it was a combination of both. And so as I did that, it helped me to prioritize. God has always been number one in my life. And as I began to have family and my wife and my children began to be born, it was very important to make sure that I was being that type of father that my dad that my dad was for us, and type of motherly figures and things that we've experienced, that's the same type of parents we were being for our children. And combining those, prioritizing God, family, and work, it has some complications sometimes, but they're all important. So you have to make sure they're all in alignment on the same accord. And sometimes you may have to sacrifice a couple things when it comes to you being away from your family for a couple of hours, extra hours, but you make up for it when you're able to make up for it overall. So it's a balancing act. Obviously keeping God first in whatever you do, prioritizing your marriage and your relationship with your family. Then also a quick, short third is making sure that you're taking care of things at work on a daily basis.
Do you have a friend group that you can go to when you feel overwhelmed? Maybe it's an all men's group, or maybe it's a spiritual group.
So one of the key things for me is to have mentors, very positive mentors. You want to surround yourself with people who have your best interest at heart.
And only quality people.
Only quality people. Because again, if your circle of people and you're the most well-respected person in your circle or most well-known, you need to look for upgrade your circle as well. Yes. Respect yourself, but also respect the opinion of other people. So it's very important to surround yourself with that type person or people who have your best interest at heart. We're going to hold you accountable. We're going to keep you honest and those type of things. That's very, very important, because I've seen so many people who may get in trouble because they're being influenced from outside influences. So one of the things that to me is most important is your integrity. Yes. Treat people the way that you want to be treated. Don't take shortcuts. It's not always about you. So you have to learn how to be a better listener than you are a person that talks. Yes. People look at what you do versus what you say in a lot of cases. So that's very important. Make sure you're acting with integrity and discipline.
So when you're feeling overwhelmed, who do you reach out to?
So
not just your mentors. I'm talking about like support group.
Right. Some of my best friends would be some of my support groups. Yeah. A lot of times we would communicate after work. building a strong relationship with coworkers. That was one of the things that helped me. For instance, as a senior manager, we may be over 600 people as a group. I may be over 200 to 300 people, and we sat together in an office, and we all had personal situations going on. And there would be days sometimes when we had extra time, we would literally talk about life situations. We would just ask for advice from that group. Again, if we're overwhelmed with something at work, if there are personal things that they need advice about. And I'll be honest with you, that was very helpful for me and very helpful for that entire group.
Yeah, because you spend so much time together, when you're working together. It makes sense that when you have an issue, you can come to these people and not feel judged or not feel like this is too much information for my work buddies.
Absolutely. And we were, you want to surround yourself with those type positive friends and friends who are friends that can also be transparent. You don't need anybody that's going to who's going to sugarcoat it and not tell you specifically what's going on and what you need to do, because that's the wrong type of friend, in my opinion. They need to be transparent. Hey, Cyrus, you're wrong for this. Work on this portion of it. And again, that helped me. And we would always provide that type of advice. But it's always important. In chapter 5, one of the things I talked about was the statistics around men as far as suicide and those type of things. And so it's important for men to always be able to communicate. Even though we're tough and strong and those type of things, we have to be vulnerable. And it's okay to be vulnerable, to talk about specific things that are going on in our life that are bothering you.
So what are the statistics when it comes to men and suicide?
So one of the statistics that we talk about in chapter 5 is from a suicide standpoint. It was very alarming to me when we started to talk about some of the statistics. For instance, men are 4 times as likely to commit suicide than women are. And just to give you some examples, like in 2021, 14.0 per 100,000, the data showed that suicide rates among men were 22.8% overall, compared to less than that for females throughout the country. Yeah. So from a 78% being male, and this comes from CDC, and a record 49,500 people died by suicide in 2022. And again, a huge portion of those, 78% of those, were male. So it's important to make sure that males, that we don't have to be Superman, even though we think we are sometimes. We can be vulnerable. We can communicate about things. And to me, as we continue to dive into the data, some of the examples show that it's okay to communicate to our children, our males, and those type of things, all of our kids, but especially males. It's okay to let them know that they can be vulnerable and communicate with them and touch bases with them. If they make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. Be able to pick them up and communicate with them. We all want our children to be successful, but we also want them to know that it's okay when they make a mistake. It's not the end of the world. Life goes on. Learn from it and move on.
What are some of the things that are contributing to this high, suicidal rate?
I think it's a combination of men not being vulnerable or not letting their guard down to talk about the issues that they have. And one thing I see is that there's so many people who may be going through depression. Depression can lead to other things. So you have to be able to have an outlet, like you mentioned earlier. Surround yourself with friends. And if you haven't heard from them, you have to actually be a friend yourself. If you know of somebody in your inner circle who hasn't communicated, who's acting differently, seems as though he or she has something going on, take the time to ask questions. Take the time to call them. Take the time to go by there. If you know your friend's going through a situation, and a life situation, because life situations happen, whether it's financial, whether it's marriage, whether it's work, all the above. So take the time to be a concerned friend, reach out to him or her, and make sure that they understand that they're never alone in any type of situation that they're going through. And because a lot of times people get to that extreme when they feel there are no outlets, when they feel as though there's nothing else that they can do, that they've reached the final final portion of the road and where they can go. So you have to always understand there is an out. There is some help, whether you're going to professional counseling or those type of things. Don't be afraid, because that's one of the things, especially in the African American community, we're afraid to go to counselors. We're
Yes.
afraid to talk to counselors, and that should not be the case. So that is one of the things that I would highly recommend. It's okay to go to a counselor and talk to a counselor just to understand that everything's okay. So they can kind of make you understand that we're going to go through things in life. It's all about it's all about how you end up when you go through those storms and those adversities in your life.
Thank you for sharing that about the suicidal rates, especially in men, because it is crucial for us to raise awareness and put it out there and encourage men to have discussions to reduce the stigma and to
Right.
talk about it as much as possible, especially if someone, is struggling. There are resources available to provide you with the support and the assistance you need to get the mental health that you deserve.
Absolutely.
Wow. Thank you so much. Where can our tribe, follow up with you?
So you can reach me at my website. That's at Cyrus Jones, CYRISJones.com. I'm
Mm-hmm.
available on Facebook as well. That's Cyrus Jones at CyrusJones.980. And you can reach me at Instagram. That's Cyrus Jones on Instagram as well. My website is Cyrus, CYRIS, at Cyrus, CYRIS Jones. So you can reach out to me there. You can subscribe, and I'll definitely stay in touch with you. Just look forward to communicating with you. My book is available on my website as well for purchase, and it's also available through Amazon.com. And
Put the title of the book in the search engine, and you will see where to get it closest to you. It's Thank God for What You Have, Trust God for What You Need. But it is also in our bookstore, the Bold Bookstore. So you can go to boldpublishings.com and
yes,
scroll down. You'll see the book. It's called Thank God for What You Have and Trust God for What You Need. And it will show you will get it directly from his website. So you are given back 100%. All of the proceeds go to him. When you buy it from Amazon and Target and Walmart, they get 60, 70% of the proceeds. So
yes,
go to boldpublishings.com, grab his book straight from his website, or go to his website. Okay?
absolutely. Thank you.
Now, your book highlights how preparation and effort influences one's blessing. Could you tell me a little bit about a time when your preparation and effort equal multiple blessings?
So chapter 9 is one of my favorite chapters. That's called Seed Time and Harvest. And what I realized is that there were so many things that were happening in my life.
Mhm.
And I referenced some things in chapter 1. My dad was explaining to me that, he wanted me to be better than he was, that, live a life of, you know, establishing your legacy every day.
Yeah.
So I took that to heart. So that resonated in my mind. And as I was going through my life, I would constantly want to do things and complete my education, go to college and those type of things, start my career working and those type of things. And as I was going through that process, I had various mentors that were there, and those mentors would help me keep me focused. They may have been some of the hardest professors or some of the stricter managers at work, but I gravitated towards them because they were what was needed from me.
Yeah.
And I took certain things from them, and that helped me to be successful. And I wanted to make sure I was giving back. And each time I would always bring up additional management teams or management staffs and hourly employee to make sure that they're focused, that they're on track to be as successful as they can be, the same way that those managers actually helped me as well. And it's not always about preparing getting that one promotion, but it's about preparing your team so that they are equally ready for promotion and advancements within the group. Because one thing that I've learned and realized is that when you prepare your team, that also helps prepare you for a replacement for you, which in turns will open up more doors and things for you as an individual, especially in management. It's very, very important as well.
As a motivational speaker, and a #1 best-selling author. How do you convey the message of hope in readers and in listeners?
So I've had the opportunity to work with amazing people, one being Dr. Denise Nicholson,
Oh, thank you.
actually, and then also listening to Myron Golden. But my mentor for my motivational speaking was also Mr. Les Brown, one of the top 5 motivational speakers in the world.
Yeah.
Spent several months with him, and he would constantly tell me, Cyrus, you have to be able to get your story out there. It's very, very important. And I listened to that, and that resonated with me, and that stuck with me. And one of the things that he actually wrote the foreword for the book.
Yes.
And one of the things that he helped me to understand was that your message is important. Your message can change lives. So
Yeah.
the more transparent you are, be that person, that spark that helps to change lives across the world, because you can do it based off of your message, based off of the way that you're communicating to people. So that was important. That resonated with me. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing the things that would help to change people's lives around the world, to make sure that they had a foundation, a biblical standpoint, but also practical solutions that would help them in their lives, that they would be more powerful, more resilient, more disciplined in the things that they did in their lives as well.
I know that the writing process was not easy for you, but it was simple because you had a guidance, you had the writing incubator, you had support. What did it feel like when you got to the middle of the book and it was overwhelming? What did that feel like for you?
It was like deja vu. I'm like, who wrote this book? Because and I started to reflect on everything. I'm like, wow, I was praying every day and make sure that I was able to create and create a scenario where everything flowed the way that it should. So what helped me most importantly was the advice from yourself, but also from Mr. Les Brown and those type of things, and keeping a clear focus on what message I wanted to resonate in the book. So as I was going through, that was very important to make sure that we were able to capture the things that are most important, put in a chronological order. And as things started to go together, I was very relieved that things were going together in a positive way, and it was telling a message. And that was most important. Be able to tell your message, be able to touch the lives of people, because a lot of people go through similar type situations. And as they go through things, they're able to resonate, because each chapter, certain chapters may resonate with different people. The whole book may resonate with one person, but 2 and 3 chapters will resonate with different people, different age groups, and those type things. That would be.
How did you feel when you finished the book? It was done. The manuscript was done and out of your hands.
So when I was finished with it, I was like, this is hot potato. Let me pass it back over to Dr. Denise because I've done my work. It was very exhilarating because I'd spent 4 months just really focusing. I changed my sleeping habits. I found that I could write better. I had to go back to my college days. I found that I could write better from 12 o'clock in the morning till like 4 o'clock in the morning. So that was my writing space. Free from the family and those type things. Come upstairs, have some coffee, so I'm good to go. So it was like a burden that was lifted, not just because I was writing, but because I was able to get the message that God wanted me to convey to everyone. So that was very exhilarating, and I was very, very happy that I was able to continue to tell that message the way it should have been told.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing with everyone how your faith really helped you to create this magnificent book of hope and inspiration. Now, there are 3 questions that I love to ask each of my guests when they come up here, so I hope you're prepared.
I hope I am too. Okay.
What is one bold promise that you can share with the audience?
One bold promise that I can share with the audience. So Dr. Denise helped us to establish our affirmations. Yeah. So it's very, very important. So I have my affirmations up here, so I can read from those.
That's right.
All right. So one of the things is I have favor in all aspects of my life.
Yes.
All right. The second thing is I speak the blessings of the Lord over my family. Yes. The third one is I am a bold and talented author. The fourth is I am a world-renowned motivational speaker with courage and passion. So, and then obviously, let's see, I sow seeds of hope and greatness all over the world. So
Ooh,
it's important to make sure that I am giving back just as much as I've received and as much as I will be receiving in the course of my life. So it's important to make sure that I'm speaking the blessings over my life, but also speaking the blessings over other people's lives, helping them to become the best version of themselves. Because we all want to be successful, but we all have a desire to be successful, but we all have a goal, and we all have a responsibility to help other people to be successful
yes.
as well.
And so, in order to get that done, guys, we got to work on ourselves. Sometimes
Absolutely.
you get a message that you need to share with others, but you don't know how to do it. You're afraid to put yourself out there. But just getting that message is, uh, you know, it's a message from God that you can do this. Just you getting that inclination that you need to share this experience with someone or the lessons that you learn, it's coming from God because there's a person out there waiting for your voice to change their life. And
That's
it's
right.
big that we say that, but it's true. God uses us as his hands and feet. So that was a good one. Thank you so much. But we're not done yet.
Okay.
What's a bold statement you can share with the audience that will cause a paradigm shift?
A bold statement that would cause a paradigm shift.
Hmm.
One thing I would say, as I'm writing my TEDx talk, because that's another thing, I'm working on my TEDx talk, TEDx debut that's in coming up pretty soon in May.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. It's about confidence and commitment. One of the things for me is that confidence comes from not being afraid to fail. You have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to know that, have confidence in yourself,
Yeah.
have courage to do what you are capable of doing. So even though you may not have done it, have the faith and the discipline to know that you are capable of doing it.
Mm.
Step out of your comfort zone, have confidence in yourself, become your biggest cheerleader.
Yes.
No one should be your biggest cheerleader but you. You are your biggest cheerleader because you believe in yourself, because you're prepared. If you're not prepared, you're getting prepared.
Hmm.
Understand the goal that you set forth in your life.
Yes. Wow. I love it. Thank you so much. What's a bold move you'd like to make for the future?
Bold move for the future. Obviously, working on book number 2 and book number 3. That's
Oh, that's a
that's
bold move.
a bold move. My
It
goal is
really
hopefully
is.
to have another book written by November of this
Hmm.
year. Is a bold move, and that book will relatively talk about management principles and strategies and those type things. And as I'm continuing to work on the consulting portion of my business, obviously author, motivational speaker, and consulting. I have over 30 years of management experience with 33 years of manufacturing experience, expert level in supply chain management, manufacturing improvement processes, employee relations, and all those things. So stepping out on faith and launching that business to help other companies to be successful, just as the 2 companies that I left were successful. I want to make sure that other companies around the world are successful as well.
I'm looking forward to that because that is your niche. You have so many years of experience, and I can see the world a better place because they're benefiting from this book.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, guys, don't forget. Oh, well, remember to go out there and order your copy of Thank God for What You Have, Trust God for What You Need by Cyrus Jones. He's a best-selling author he's an Amazon best-selling author. He's an Ingram Spark best-selling author. He's a Bold Bookstore best-selling author. He's a best-selling author. So there's so many different platforms that is showing you that this is a book that can impact your life for the greatness you desire. So please
Yes.
go out there and get this book, okay? And I'm encouraging you guys to visit his website and his social media. You can follow him. Where again can they follow you?
On Instagram at Cyrus Jones at Instagram, as Facebook as well as CyrusJones.980 and Facebook as well.
All right. Guys, do me a favor and stop what you're doing and order your book ASAP. Okay? He's also the Bold Author of the Month coming up in March. So you're going to get more opportunities to meet this guy, hear what he's about, and get to follow his tribe. Okay? If you would like to write a book and publish it, but you don't know where to start, you can go to boldpublishings.com and I can help you get your book idea out of your head and onto paper. Don't think that because there's a book already written about the topic that you're interested in writing about that you shouldn't. Because the people that you can reach are different from the people that the other books are reaching. So don't be afraid to go out there and share that message. Change somebody's life. I often say that when you hold your book inside of you, it's like holding a lifesaver away from a person that is drowning in the deep end of the ocean.
Yep.
They need your book to survive. You need to hold on to bring them to the hope and the inspiration and the motivation and all of the resources that they need. It starts with your book. So right. It's a big deal. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Cyrus, do you want to say anything else before you go?
One of the biggest things that I enjoy most once I've sold the books and I've gone through is to see and hear people come up to me and thank me just based off of the inspiration that they've gotten from the book and how the book has changed their lives. One of the things I put at the very bottom of the book is changing the world one person at a time. So I am so ecstatic to know that we are changing the world one person at a time based off of how this book is helping people.
One person at a time, one book at a time.
That's right.
Cyrus, when you told your mother that you finished this book and you showed her first copy, what did she say?
She was so excited. She has her copy and she takes her purse with her everywhere. So she has her personal copy in her purse. So she wants it to stay with her. And it was so funny. I signed it for her and I kind of explained, she has dementia, but I kind of explained it to her. And she remembers that book. She talks about it all the time. And one of her best friends, and they're about the same age, and she has dementia as well. It was so funny because I'd gone over to her house about a month ago. And that's the second time I saw her since she had her book. Yeah. And she was the same way. My cousin was telling me that she would not go anywhere without her book. So my mom and my mom's best friend are about 90, 91 years of age. They both hold to that book dearly. They're so excited for me. They're so proud of me.
Wow. Guys, you hear this? His mother is so proud. There is someone out there waiting for your book, a family member, a loved one, waiting for you to hand them their personal copy with your signed signature. So please get that book out of your head, okay? Be bold and create your message and share it today. Join Bold Publishing.
Thank you for joining us for the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a central hub and a safe space for authors to share their stories. Follow Dr. Denise on Facebook and Instagram at Denise Nicholson or go to denisenicholson.com. Remember, no one can share your story better than you.